Welcome back to WeAreSC's Recruiting Roundup with Scott Schrader. I'm Dylan Brashier, and we're back with some more important recruiting news. We're going to go over some recent recruiting visits, and we're going to start with June 16th through the 18th. Let's kick it off. First up, we got Brian Jackson, 3-star running back out of McKinney, Texas.
Yeah, Brian Jackson is one of those guys. He's the lone, as of this point, running back commit for USC. I think we have probably his weight down at about 235 pounds. I'm not sure what we had his height at, but I think looks like we have him at 6 foot. We have him at 6 foot 200, but I know that he was up to 6 foot 235 pounds. I've been told he's down now to 220 pounds. So this is the perfect back for USC heading into the Big Ten. A bruiser, a guy that's going to be able to get you a ton of yards after contact. Yeah, he came in for his official visit. He had visited 2 or 3 times previous to now, but this is a guy that we don't talk about very often. And we're talking about Taylor Tatum right now. The number 1 ranked running back in the nation. It's a battle between OU baseball and USC football. A situation we've never seen before, where one guy is looking at one school for one sport and looking at another school for a different sport. So I'm not really quite sure how this is all going to end up, but. Even if Taylor Tatum was to make a commitment to Oklahoma, I'm not sure it would be over with until signing day. But Brian Jackson right now, USC is really thrilled with him.
Nice. Next up is Makai Sena out of Martin High School. He's a 3-star offensive lineman.
Yeah, this is another guy that he came in for his visit with USC feeling like they were in a really, really good spot with him. He's one of the guys we haven't been able to really get a whole lot of feedback from. The only thing that he did, he sent me a note saying, "I love my visit. USC is very much in it." There was a prediction made for the University of Texas by our Texas site for Saina. So I'm not sure where things stand. I think we're going to find a little bit more this afternoon on him. But this is a guy that USC is really, really high on as an offensive tackle.
For sure. Next up is Jalen Harvey out of Quince Orchard High School, a 4-star edge rusher.
Yeah, Jalen's a guy that I've seen a few times now. Actually, a couple times at a school for practices, and we saw him at a 7-on-7 event. Actually, I've seen him 3 times. And the last time I saw him was at the Under Armour camp in Washington, D.C. area. It's actually in Baltimore. This is a guy that Roy Manning is really high on. I think he's high on Jalen Harvey like he was Braylon Shelby. And Braylon is going to come in and make an impact as a freshman at USC. So this is a guy that is going to be chasing quarterbacks. I mean, that would be his role at USC, and he will be really, really good at it. So right now, Penn State is the heavy favorite for Jalen. Penn State is a school that Quince Orchard makes trips to multiple times a year as a team. They go to camps at Penn State. So there's a really long relationship that Jalen's had with the Penn State staff. So I'm not sure where it's going with that, but we're hearing that USC feels they have a shot with him, maybe better than we even realized. But this is another guy that I think we're going to find out more information on later today.
Definitely. On to the next is Tyanthony Smith from Jasper High School, a 4-star linebacker.
Yeah, Tyanthony Smith and Draylon Miller are both from East Texas, up near Beaumont. Tyanthony's from Jasper, Texas. I think they live 15 minutes apart. So it's typically really, really hard to pull kids from East Texas to USC. Now, people will come back with the comment, well, Taj Washington is at USC. And so I get that. Darwin Barlow, too. Shoot, forgot to mention him. And Darwin's actually from where these 2 guys, Tyanthony Smith and Draylon, are both from. So, but those guys were transfers, so they didn't start at USC. But Tyanthony is a guy that I felt, even when I saw him back in March at the Dallas Under Armour camp, that there was really serious interest with USC. So he's going to announce his commitment probably this week or next week. And we put a prediction in for the Trojans, and right now we're feeling really, really good about the chances.
For sure. Next up is Marquise Gallegos out of Chaminade High School and a 4-star safety.
Yeah, Marquise is a guy that we haven't talked about very much this year or last year, maybe late last year and into this year, because he had an injury that kept him out of a lot of events. So he wasn't doing a lot of visiting. He wasn't doing any 7-on-7. He wasn't doing any camps or anything like that. So we really didn't see him. And in the springtime, it seems like that time of year more than any, we depend on seeing guys in person because they're so visible at events and stuff that's going on that we don't call guys. But he's a guy that USC is in a really, really strong spot with right now. He's been at Chaminade High School. I'm not sure what's going on there right now. We're hearing that Sierra Canyon is going to be his home this season. So I'm not sure what the status is on that. But this is a guy that I think very, very highly of. And he's also a part of a 7-on-7 club, Premium Sports. They had a 9th grade team, Team Gath. And on that team, just guys that have visited USC this month, you had Marcellus Williams, you had Xavier Brown, you had Peyton Woodyard, you had Kingston Villamuasa, you had Marquise Gallegos, you had Nate Frazier. I always want to say Zach Frazier. Nathaniel Frazier. And this team was so ridiculously talented, and Marquise was on that team. So if people are trying to connect the dots on where guys are, they're going to all go play together. Well, these guys were all on the same team. They've all known each other, probably for 5+ years. So Marquise is one of those. We think that he'll announce his commitment for USC on Tuesday.
Nice. Next up is Jason Zandamela out of Clearwater Academy International. He's a 4-star O-lineman.
Yeah, Jason goes to the same school that Lucas Simmons went to from last recruiting cycle. Lucas was from Sweden. And Clearwater Academy takes a lot of guys. Most of their guys are from Europe, Canada, and Africa, and other countries. Not most of them aren't from the United States. Jason is from Mozambique. Believe he left home 5 years ago. He's been on his own, not literally, but he's had host families and stuff like that. And he's obviously got the school that he's currently at right now, Clearwater Academy, which has amazing people that run that program. Dan Meyer is our contact there. I just love him. But Jason was a guy that I figured he was going to come out to USC, and it was just going to end up like Lucas Simmons. He was going to commit to Florida State. Shows how impactful these visits can be. So, this is a guy that values education extremely highly. I don't know if that's the way to put extremely highly, but this is a huge gift for USC. It's a top 100 prospect. So it was mildly surprising that USC got the commitment, but it's a big one.
Definitely. Next up is Draylon Miller out of Silsbee High School. He's a 4-star wide receiver.
Yeah, we mentioned Draylon here with Ty Anthony Smith, and Ty Anthony and Draylon have said that they are going to play together in college. We've also put a prediction in for Draylon Miller. He'll be announcing on June 29th in Beaumont. We're planning to be at the announcement. And he's another guy that I've seen play a couple of times. Most recently, it was a 7-on-7 state championship qualifying event in Texas, some near Houston. He's a big time receiver. He's not going to be the fastest guy. He's not going to run away from a whole lot of people, but he's going to go up and catch footballs that not many guys can. And that's kind of the kind of guys that Lincoln Riley will personally do everything possible to make sure that they can get guys like this. So those two guys visited together. I think they've been hanging out this week in College Station. They took a brief visit there, but they will. Draylon has got a scheduled announcement, and we think it's going to be USC. But it's been USC LSU for a long time.
For sure. Next up is Marcellus Williams, St. John Bosco, 4-star cornerback.
Yeah, Marcellus Williams, most people watching this will know that his brother Max is a 5th-year senior at the University of Southern California. Family, big-time USC fans. His dad loves USC. But 2 months ago, they were prepared for Marcellus to end up going to another school, not USC. And it wasn't until about 2 months ago that USC really became a realistic option for him. And interestingly enough, it was Mekhi Blackman now being drafted in the 3rd round that really made it open up a lot of guys' eyes that, yeah, you know what, I can go get developed at USC. If they're going to take a guy from the University of Colorado that has no draft status at all, and he comes into USC and he leaves a third-round draft pick. That is, in most kids' eyes, that is a bigger accomplishment than taking a 5-star and putting him into the first round. So, Dante's going to get a lot of mileage out of this. And Marcellus is the most ready to play as a freshman cornerback that I've seen. It's hard to shake him. Really a sticky cornerback. You can put him out man-on-man coverage, and you can rely on somebody like Marcellus to get the job done. And then there are not that many guys that you can say that about at this age as seniors in high school. So big pickup for USC.
For sure. Next up is Xavier Jordan out of Sierra Canyon. He's a 4-star wide receiver.
Yeah, Xavier Jordan was the guy when we first met. We didn't have a ranking for him at On3. And I was referring to him as the best wide receiver on the West Coast. And of course, people are like going, why do you think he's the best? No, he's not even ranked. That goes. But I mean, it was still mildly early in the process. I think it was January, February, something like that. But he is now ranked our number one West Coast wide receiver. He's a top 100 prospect now for On3. So this was another huge pickup for USC, quite some time ago. And I just think right now, with the direction USC's going with wide receiver recruiting, they're going to put together a pretty solid class, and Xavier is a huge part of that.
For sure. And then this might be a reach, but Mike Matthews out of Parkview High School, he's a 5-star wide receiver.
Yeah, Mike Matthews is another guy that I saw in Atlanta at the Under Armour camp. It was late February. These camps all kind of are like this, but this time of year they all seem like they happen at the same time. And he's a guy whose interest is a lot higher in USC than people think. What happens inevitably with a lot of the stories that go out from guys from Georgia like him and that part of the country is there'll just be stories written about it. They'll just discount USC as not being an option, just strictly because of where they're from. But the thing about Mike Matthews is he's not going to go to the University of Georgia. So now you're opening up a whole lot of options. And USC, right now I'm hearing there's sources at Tennessee and USC that think it's USC Clemson. Others think it's USC Tennessee. But regardless, USC is in the conversation with whatever the other school is. And, I think that it's going to be attractive to be able to drive to Knoxville, 3-hour drive, I think is what it is for his family. But I think he really, really does like USC a lot. And Lincoln Riley is a big draw for all of these top guys like that. So I don't know where things currently stand. I don't know if he's in a hurry. I don't even know if he's going to make a decision anytime soon. But USC is very, very much in it for Mike Matthews.
Gotcha. And to cap off the 16th through 18th visits, we're going to end it with Marquise Lightfoot out of Kenwood Academy. He's a 4-star edge.
Yeah, he's a guy that we also haven't talked to a whole lot. And much like Edric Houston, it's USC Ohio State for Marquise Lightfoot. And I think that most are giving Ohio State the edge right now. So I'm not sure if USC has the ability to still catch up. Again, if Marquise is going to be making a decision soon right now. But that's about all we have to offer on him. But this is a guy that Sean Nua really wants.
Okay, so moving on. Obviously, you guys noticed that we did not have a show last week. It was a very hectic week, so we're going to cover the revisits from that week. Starting off, we got Peyton Woodyard, a 4-star safety out of St. John Bosco.
Yeah, we didn't do a show last week because there was a lot going on with official visitors. So just wanted to be clear on that. And I was just like, I kind of just threw my arms up and I threw up the white flag. I surrender. So we just didn't have time for this. But yeah, Peyton Woodyard committed to the University of Georgia. Again, this is a guy that USC really had no shot at, or very little shot at, 4 or 5 months ago. And a lot has happened since then. And a lot of what's happened is there's a momentum that is building up with USC recruiting right now. These local kids are all kind of one by one starting to commit to USC. Kids take notice of that. Even when I go to schools, I'll even talk to some of the other top players that USC is maybe not recruiting or they don't have interest in USC. And every kid in Southern California is noticing what's going on at USC right now. And there's a lot of kids that are like, is there any way I can get USC to still look at me? We weren't hearing that 2 years ago. So it's just kind of, you can tell that things are really going in a strong direction for USC. But Peyton is a guy that USC definitely has a shot with. And, he's going to be at Ohio State this weekend. I think, no, Kingston's going to be we'll be talking about Kingston in a second here, but Peyton's at the University of Alabama this weekend. But we do think that if it's not going to be Georgia, it's going to be USC for Peyton.
Gotcha. And like you said, we're moving on to his teammate, Kingston Viliamu Asa, a four-star linebacker, also out of St. John Bosco.
Yeah. I'm not sure there's a football player I like more in this recruiting class than Kingston Viliamu Asa. This is a very serious kid. So he's looking at things so much more maturely than I did when I was his age. This guy really has like his future kind of mapped out and goals that he wants to achieve. And a lot of those goals happen to be in Southern California, owning property, owning businesses, and living his life in Southern California after football. So I think USC's biggest hurdle was convincing Kingston that it was a great place to go get developed as a linebacker. Brian Odom has addressed that part, and I think that's not an issue any longer. So now you're talking about what can a school do for Kingston after football? USC hit a grand slam with that part. So I think he just took a visit to Notre Dame. Notre Dame and USC are so similar in what they offer, and the after football part is going to be a big deal here with Kingston. And he is, like I was alluding to here earlier, is at Ohio State this weekend. And I think that is the competition with USC right now.
Gotcha. So now we're going to move on to this weekend visitor, and that's David Pale out of Hempfield High School. He's a three-star O-lineman.
Yeah, he's really not after that many defensive linemen, and the ones they really want to get, but they're kind of at a point right now to where there might be other schools that these kids are favoring, and right now it looks like if you look at the recruiting prediction machine at On3, you got Penn State and Michigan as the top two schools, but he's out here for this official visit, and I think USC's chances for David are at least good heading into this visit. So it will be interesting to see what we're reporting after this visit, but it's just kind of USC's at a point right now where they still have to play better defense on the field this season in order for it to be easier for them in the future to get some of these defensive linemen. Some of the local guys, Dante's addressed that, Brian Odom's addressed that, but when you're trying to get guys that are from Pennsylvania and Washington, D.C. area and all that kind of stuff, it gets a little bit more challenging every mile you get away from Los Angeles. So this is the guy that they really want, and he's really one of four guys that they're pursuing as defensive lineman right now. So there'll be some others, like Aiden Breland will visit in the fall. Jericho Johnson will visit in the fall. So there will be more, and there'll be other guys coming in. But right now, it's a small list. He's an important get.
So there was supposed to be a four-star linebacker named Jordan Longcott who was supposed to visit, but apparently he's not. Scott?
Yeah, it was one of those situations where USC wasn't sure he was going to come in for the official visit or not. Turns out he wasn't going to come in, isn't coming in this weekend. Took a visit to Texas A&M last weekend, and that's where he committed to yesterday. So we had put a prediction in for Texas A&M. We had kind of figured that one out when the USC visit was off. But yeah, USC right now, I think that they feel that Kingston Viliamu Asa is a top priority. Ty Anthony Smith is another one, but then Chris Cole, who came out for an unofficial visit last weekend from Virginia, I think Salem, Virginia. A guy that USC is really, really, really high on. Chris Cole will be back in the fall for his USC official visit. So he's another linebacker.
Thank you for tuning in to another edition of WeAreSC's Recruiting Roundup with Scott Schrader. I know it was short with only one topic. We'll be back next week with some more. Fight on.